Strictly music, only music and nothing else. And let's go ahead and get into some more album reviews. These album reviews have been pouring out, and I don't really plan to miss any, though I will miss some just for personal preference. Get in the comments to let me know what I absolutely have to listen to and review. And just like I did previously with my Glorilla album review that I wasn't going to review, but we had a request from a subscriber, go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. I'll get on it, so just let me know if I missed anything, because there are a good amount of albums and or EPs dropping right now, so I'm busy. Let's go ahead and get into Kodak Black's Dieuson Octave album and or EP. Well, not and or, it is an EP, so excuse me for that. Now it's Dieuson Octave, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Get in the comments and let me know if that is the correct pronunciation, because I'm not entirely sure. And let's go ahead and just get right into it. You know how we do, bar for bar, line for line, word for word. Now, track 1, Catch Fire. Kodak shows his introspective ability as he reflects on his decisions and spending most of his money he earned in his fame to stay out of jail while he abuses drugs and or guns. I like this song a lot. Very short opening track, however, it is a short project, so there's no love lost there, and a statement was definitely made, so it is a good way to open up a EP. Not a bad track by any stretch of the imagination. Now, let's go ahead and get into track 2, Harlem Nights. I like this beat a lot, and Kodak wastes no time going right at it. Kodak does have a rapping ability that I feel is underrated. This is that flow that we came to love from Yakk, and that is by no stretch of the imagination a bad thing. So as of right now, I believe we are 2 for 2, and I do enjoy the first one just as much as I enjoy the second. Now, as we get into track 3, Versatile, also known as Dieuson Octave, this one is definitely a bop with another beat that's very dope. I feel that he does lose momentum a bit towards the middle of this track. He recovers at the end, however, but that loss in momentum towards the middle makes this track not really hold a candle to the previous two. Now, it doesn't make it a bad track, but you definitely get lost in the sauce a bit towards the middle, and it does take away from the track as a whole. So track 3 doesn't really compare to track 2 and 1. Now, track 4, Drive the Boat, named after his famous slogan, "Let me drive the boat." We all know Yakk. He got a couple of them things when it comes to slogans and just shit that everybody says once he stamps it. Yakk is very underrated, and he's very influential in the culture. If you don't know, do your research. I like the introduction of this track a lot. I do feel it is a bit short. However, this is not a long project, and it necessarily isn't that strong towards the middle and or end. The introduction of the track, which I like, is really the strong point of this particular track. So it kind of misses the mark yet again. We have seen in track 3 and 4 some of the strong points, and then it will venture off a little bit. This track suffers a bit more than the previous. The previous, it just lost momentum in the middle. This track lost momentum in the middle and the end, leaving just the introduction to carry it across. So definitely not one of the better tracks on this short body of work. Track 3 and 4, we did hit a bit of a hump. Track 3, we may be able to get past it. Track 4, not too sure about that one. I do feel it is one of the weaker tracks. Now, track 5, Never Exaggerate. Kodak talks on his time in jail and his paranoia directed at the people around him. This beat is dope, so big ups to production. You know we always big up production because they work just as hard. Sometimes they work even harder than the artist. A lot of music coming out, so always remember to big up production when you hear a beat, and big up engineering when you hear a sound that you like sonically. I would consider this one of the better songs on the project for sure, and it has that vintage Yakk all over it. So we went ahead and did a little tuck and roll from track 4, and we got it right back with track 5, Never Exaggerate. Now, track 6, Never See Me. This beat is nasty work. Kodak approaches it with a laid back flow, and I'm here for that. Big fan of Yakk when he gets into that bag. This beat is nasty. This is definitely going to get some more burn from me for sure. Big ups production yet again. Another short track, but this is to be expected at this point as we're reaching the tail end of this EP. It is a short body of work, only 8 songs. We're 6 songs in, so we're not expecting a random song to be so much longer than the previous ones. We are about 80% through this project, and we could expect the tracks to be shorter. This one is one of my personal favorites, if not my personal favorite on the entirety of the EP. Just a bit of foreshadowing. I know we have 2 tracks left, but this is the one for me, and that was track 6, Never See Me. Now track 7, I'ma be real, Kodak is very transparent on this track, as you can hear the angst in his voice, and this is where Yakk is known to do some of his best work, when he has that angst and he has that powerful emotion driving his bars and his lyrics. Kodak is known to do some of his best work here. However, this isn't the best track sonically. It's not the most sonically pleasing. In layman's term, it doesn't sound the best, but considering the subject matter and how he's portraying himself, that the fact that it doesn't add sonically, the fact that sonically it's a bit sounds like someone's crying or screaming, it adds to the point that he's trying to get across. Definitely a hard pill to swallow, and if you're not a Yakk fan, you're just going to skip over it because you don't want to hear it, but it adds to the overall message, so I didn't take away much in regards to that. That was his preference. That's how he tried to get the message across. He wanted that whiny, screechy, cryy style, and it worked out to an extent. Definitely not one of the stronger songs on the track, but performative art is just that. It is performative, and I feel like that is why sonically it sounds that way, considering that these guys have some of the best engineers in the world. If they didn't want it to sound that way, I am more than certain they would have made sure it did not. So track 7 was a interesting one, to say the least. Definitely weaker sonically. I feel like a lot of people may not get it, but I am strictly music, only music and nothing else, and I do understand the point that he was trying to portray. Now track 8, Inside I Suffer. This track follows the trope of the previous track initially. Then he dips back into his normal pocket before going back into that high-pitched, angst-filled flow from before. Then he goes back into his normal pocket and then back again, so we see a bit of peekaboo there. This beat is dope, so shout out to production. Definitely one of, if not the weakest song on the project, which is almost anticlimactic considering what the track was titled, Inside I Suffer. And if you know Yakk, when it comes to talk about suffering and pain, he gets deep into that bag. So I did expect a bit more because of the title, and I also expected a bit more because it was the last song on the project. I was not expecting the last song on the project to be the weakest song on the project, but it was. It did not follow the trope of the introduction, which was a pretty strong, decent one with Catch Fire track 1. Inside I Suffer track 8 is probably the weakest one on here. So overall, what do I think about Kodak Black's surprise EP, Dieuson Octave? I do believe that it is to be expected of Yakk. If you're a Yakk fan, you're going to enjoy this. Nothing inherently stands out about this EP. Nothing to really write home about. And if you were to write home about it, it wouldn't be a very long letter. It's just Yakk. He's just filling us in on where he's been, how he's feeling, and what's going on upstairs in his mind. And Yakk fans can enjoy that. We always like to hear from Yakk. I do believe he's one of the more underrated artists in the game. So this is not a bad EP by any stretch of the imagination. It's just something to listen to in terms of Yakk, and we can appreciate it. Definitely heard way stronger EPs from Yakk. I'm not entirely remembering which EP it was that had Dirty K and Mafioso. Give me one moment here so I can pull up the name of that, because that EP was phenomenal. Let's see here. What was that called? Haitian Boy Kodak, which was a 4-track EP. Oh, excuse me. It was an 8-track. The first 4, if I remember correctly, or the first 5 were bangers. So we've heard far better EPs from Yakk. But It's not a bad EP by any stretch of the imagination, and we always appreciate hearing from Yakk, and he's consistent for the most part. I'm sure we'll be having a album from him shortly, so go ahead and give that a listen. If you're a Kodak fan, you're gonna enjoy it more than if you aren't. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all the support. If there's any EPs, albums, and or songs you want me to review, go ahead and comment those below, and I'll get right on them in a timely fashion. Also tune into my last subscriber requested review, which was the Glorilla Glorious album and the Lil Uzi Vert Eternal Take 2 album review that I also dropped. Go ahead and give those a listen. Strictly music, only music, and nothing else. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm here for it all.